everybody. I'm Lisa Brennan.
And I'm Justin Trice.
Welcome to Crime of the Arts, a true crime podcast that peeks behind the curtain to shine a light on the dark and untold truths of the creative arts.
From film set mysteries to celebrity murders and art heists, these two theater nerds will usher you into the unknown.
This week, I'm going to tell you the story about the Rising Phoenix.
Oh, and I'm going to tell you about Operation Varsity Blues, not to be confused with, that 1998 Varsity
Dawson's
Blues
Creek movie,
film with James Van Der Beek, Paul Walker in the infamous whipped cream bikini. No, we're not talking about that. I'm talking about Operation.
I'm sorry. Excuse me. Hold, please. Hold, please. I've never seen this, and you're telling me that there's Paul Walker in this with a whipped cream bikini?
Well, he's not wearing the whipped cream bikini, but his girlfriend is to seduce James Van Der Beek. It's a whole thing. But yeah, Paul Walker back in the 90s, he was in all of these rom-coms and all of these other films. Yeah. But, everybody thinks of that film and they start quoting it. They're like, I don't want your life because it's about Texas football and this crazy fucking football. Coach. Yeah.
Friday Night Lights. My favorite show.
But no, we're not going to get into that. Okay, we're going to get into something else named Operation Varsity Blues.
Okay, I think this might be something that people know. So we'll see. So just to give you guys a little bit of information, we have started a Patreon. And on the Patreon, you're going to have the ability to watch us record. So I know that we always say like this is not a visual medium. Well, it can be. If you pay $5 a month on Patreon. And along with that, you will get ad-free episodes. Yeah, so go check out our Patreon. It should be up by the end of this week by the time we put this recording out. So if you want to see how ridiculous we look while we record, go check it out.
We're very animated people. Yeah. Lisa's Italian, and I'm just passionate about everything. So I'm over like,
Mostly, and my hands are just waving everywhere. Yeah, for sure.
And my eye rolls and everything else. You guys could see it. But yeah, like Lisa said, we have different tier levels. And for those of you that have been listening to us from the beginning, I think you're going to appreciate the titles alone on those tiers and what they represent.
Tier 1 is a peek behind the curtain. Tier 2 is don't do crime, folks. And with tier 2, you get a little thank you card and a sticker. And, I'm sure that as we go on, more things will be added to that second tier. We're just trying to figure out what we're able to give you and what you even want. So,
yeah, exactly. So also let us know in the feedback, our emails, our social medias, let us know in terms of Patreon, like what you would be looking for, what you guys might be interested in, and we'll try to work that out for you.
For sure. Along with that, we also changed our platform. We are available on Audio Boom now, and it is super cool. So you can go check our page out. That's also listed on our website and on our Insta and everything else. So check it out. I've been a little laxed on the TikTok. I'm going to pick it up. I promise you. Okay, so let's get to the nitty gritty.
Oh, yeah.
My story is about the Rising Phoenix, and that Rising Phoenix's name is Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh, okay. All right. I mean, I know who Evan Rachel Wood is, but I don't know the metaphor behind Phoenix. So I'm curious.
Okay. So I'm going to start with the backstory. We'll get to know Evan a little bit better. She was born in Raleigh, North Carolina. Her mother's name is Sarah Lynn Moore, and she was an actress and a director and an acting coach. And she raised her daughter under the Jewish faith. She had converted to Judaism. Her father's name is Ira David Wood III. He's also an actor, theater director, and a playwright in a prominent Raleigh theater that he co-founded, and it was called the Theater in the Park.
Oh, damn. Yep. And also with a name like that, I mean, that sounds very theater.
Isn't it? The
very
third?
Traditional theater. The third, well, the three names and the third.
Well, is that why your name is Justin Stefan Trice?
It's something like that. Yeah. I think I was young and dumb, and now it's fabulous. It's in the union, so I can't change it.
So she did have siblings. She had a brother named Ira David Wood IV, and he was also an actor. And she has two other brothers named Dana and Thomas, and a sister named Aiden. So we have a whole bunch of people that are very creative in this entire family. So she was pretty actively involved in the Theater in the Park that her father was the producer of. And while growing up, she would perform in plays as little as being like a toddler. So I thought that was kind of cool. Her parents ended up splitting up and getting a divorce. And her mother took her and moved to LA in 97 so that she could further her acting career.
Such a drastic change.
Seriously. So she attended a public school in California and leaving public school to go to homeschooling at the age of 12. And then she received her high school diploma at the age of 15. So she would end up having breakout roles following Catherine Hardwicke's 2003 film 13. Do you remember that movie?
13.
It's like one of my favorite movies from when I was a teenager.
I do. Okay, I do remember that now because that was Holly Hunter and
so she's. I'll tell you a little bit about the movie in case no one remembers it. She starred as Tracy Lewis Freeland, who is a young teen who sinks into a downward spiral of hard drugs, sex, and petty crime. And her performance garnered critical acclaim, earning her a Golden Globe and a Screen Actor Guild nomination for Best Lead Actress. So she's gone on to appear in films such as The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, Across the Universe, which was Julie Taymor's Beatles musical, which I love, Justin hates. And, and HBO's True Blood, Westworld, and most recently, she was in Disney's Frozen 2.
Oh, was she really?
Yeah, she played Elsa and Anna's mom, the queen.
Oh, okay. I only saw Frozen 2 once, but I was like, wait a minute.
So the part of this story has everything to do with and completely centers around her relationship with Marilyn Manson. So you know who Marilyn Manson is, right? Okay.
Yeah, I remember they dated.
They dated. Yeah, they were even engaged. So I'll give you a little backstory on that. Evan Rachel Wood and Marilyn Manson caught the public's attention early on in their relationship, and they kind of haven't stopped making headlines ever since.
Damn. Okay.
The duo went public with their romance in January 2007. That makes Evan Rachel Wood 18 to Manson's 36. So that's a hard fucking no from me. No. Manson was previously married to Dita Von Tess, and that was from November 2005 until they finalized their divorce in December of 2007. And reflecting on her relationship, Wood recalled facing like intense scrutiny from the public surrounding his divorce, because I guess they started dating right around the time that was.
It overlapped. Yeah.
Yeah. So she said people were cruel and you build immunity to that sort of thing, but I wasn't used to negative feedback, so it got to me. And then I got angry and pushed away even more. So despite their ups and downs, Wood said at the time that she wouldn't trade any of her relationship with Manson, who proposed to her in Paris in January 2010. And the former couple ended up breaking off their engagement less than a year later. And she said, I appreciate everything he taught me. I just don't think we're right for each other.
Okay. That's a very diplomatic and responsible answer for someone her age at that time. Yeah.
So in the past, actor and activist Evan Rachel Wood has spoken out about alleged abuse that she was subjected to by an unnamed ex. And in an Instagram post in February 2021, she put a name to the allegation. And I quote, the name of my abuser is Brian Warner, also known to the world as Marilyn Manson. He started grooming me when I was a teenager and horrifically abused me for years. I was brainwashed and manipulated into submission, and I'm done living in fear of retaliation, slander, or blackmail. I'm here to expose this dangerous man and call out the many industries that have enabled him before he ruins any more lives, and I stand with many victims who will no longer be silent. So that very PC comment was very, I don't know, a scared comment. I mean, she wasn't being honest.
Right.
So yeah, it's crazy. So if she was 18 in 2007, in 2011, I mean, she was in her 20s, early 20s.
Yeah, that was only like 4 years time. Young. So she's 22.
In a show of solidarity, at least 4 other women posted their own allegations against Manson after she did. And they were detailing horrible experiences that they claimed included sexual assault, psychological abuse, and various forms of coercion, violence, and intimidation. So he's a real piece of shit.
Clearly. But it's good that they're all starting to step out now and back up her claim. Yeah.
Right. The Me Too movement kind of opened a door. And this is a little bit different because it's domestic abuse and not just sexual assault.
Right.
But after being quickly dropped by his record label, Loma Vista, Manson posted a statement on his Instagram making a sweeping denial without addressing any of the women's specific allegations. And not that I want to give this asshole a voice, because I don't, but I want to read to you the statement that he made because Evan Rachel Wood commented on it. So he said, obviously, my art and my life have long been magnets for controversy, but these recent claims about me are horrible distortions of reality. My intimate relationships have always been entirely consensual with like-minded partners, regardless of how and why others are choosing to misrepresent the past. That is the truth. On his response, Wood said on Good Morning America, from what I can tell, he's alluding to the fact that maybe this was just kinky sex. Brian and I did not have a BDSM relationship. We did not have kinky sex, and this is not a sexual preference. That's not what we're talking about here. So all these women are going to come out and say these things, and he's going to and she's right. He is alluding to that idea that these are, everyone agreed to this. It's like fucking.
Yeah, he's trying to misdirect it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, and then you get this like 50 Shades of Grey culture that kind of confuses people, and he's kind of playing to that idea that, well, we all agreed upon it, like they signed a fucking contract. God.
They signed the non-disclosure.
Yeah, it
before,
all makes me mad. According to The Hollywood Reporter, in May 2018, months after the Me Too movement began sweeping through the entertainment industry, a police report was filed against Manson citing unspecified sex crimes that allegedly took place in 2011. So in August of 2018, the LA District Attorney's Office announced it was declining to pursue that case because of a lack of corroborating evidence.
Of course. They're like, we're not touching this. He probably paid them. His attorneys were already on deck waiting for this.
Along with the idea that there's no fucking corroborating evidence, I am now going to read to you excerpts from some of the statements made that were submitted by other women naming Manson. And I want to give these women a platform for their stuff to be heard, because I know this story, but I didn't know about this, like these individual statements that were written. So
yeah, that's the thing. This is the first time I'll be hearing those accounts. Like I was vaguely familiar with Evan Rachel Wood's breakup with him and ultimately what she came out and said in terms of the abuse, but I didn't know that others stepped up and said something as well.
Yep. So this is the statement written by Ashley Walters. I continue to suffer from PTSD and struggle with depression. I stayed in touch with quite a few people who went through their own traumas under his control. As we all struggled, as survivors do, to get on with our lives, I keep hearing stories disturbingly similar to our own experiences. It became clear the abuse he caused, he continues to inflict on so many, and I cannot stand by and let this happen to others. Brian Warner needs to be held accountable. Justin's favorite word.
Yes, that is. You saw me nod as soon as you said it. I was like, yeah, accountability.
Okay. Sarah McNeely. I've been afraid to bring any spotlight upon myself as to avoid winding up in his crosshairs again. As a result of the way he treated me, I suffered from mental health issues and PTSD that have affected my personal and professional relationships, self-worth, and personal goals. I believe he gets off on ruining people's lives. I stand in support of all that have and will come forward. I want to see Brian held accountable for his evil. Ashley Lindsay Morgan. I have night terrors, PTSD, anxiety, and most cripplingly, OCD. I try to wash constantly to get him off and out of me. I'm coming forward so that he will finally stop. That one's so sad. And this is Karen Ward, and this is a pseudonym that the woman requested that her name not be given to the public. It has taken me 5 years to speak out and say that I was in an abusive relationship. I've been diagnosed with PTSD and still suffer from nightmares. I block out a lot of the memories, but the feelings remain and manifest in various ways. The reason I'm finally sharing this traumatic experience is for my healing and because I'm done being silent. I don't believe it's fair for someone to not be held accountable for their horrific actions. I am not a victim. I am a survivor.
I respect that.
Yeah. So among the people to speak out in support of Wood and the other women was Rose McGowan, who was once engaged to Manson. Could you imagine? She's like one of the pioneers of the Me Too movement.
I was just going to say, I remember her talking about it. Yes. I didn't even realize the chain reaction that it was to back up Evan Rachel Wood, because Rose McGowan has been talking about a lot, not just the Marilyn Manson thing, but on-set issues, the imbalance between that.
Yeah. I mean, she was one of the first ones.
yeah, she has been covering all of that.
So on Twitter, she made a statement that said, "I stand with Evan Rachel Wood and the other brave women who have come forward." I think it's beautiful to see all these women sort of back each other up because there's power in numbers.
Exactly.
So the thing that I find the most fascinating about Evan Rachel Wood and the trauma that she went through. So there's a documentary about her experience, and it's called The Phoenix Rising. So that's where the title comes from this week.
Okay.
You can go and watch that and get a real in-depth view on her experiences with Marilyn Manson and what that abuse was like. I'm not going to tell you many details about that just because it's not my story to tell. Go watch her documentary.
Right.
What I find the most fascinating about her, and part of the reason I wanted to do this, is she's like a serious advocate. So in 2008, she testified before a House Judiciary Subcommittee as part of an effort to get the Sexual Assault Survivors Bill of Rights passed in all 50 states. She just took her shit experience and now she's trying to fight for everyone. And I totally get that concept. I mean, it's part of your own healing.
I mean, not only is it part of your own healing, but she's actually trying to use her influence and star power to help prevent this issue for future women. And I think that's very respectable. Ugh. I feel like not enough celebrities are using the fame in the proper manner, you know?
They have a huge platform and a responsibility. Yeah. And I feel like a lot, like you said, a lot of it goes unfettered. They don't do anything with it. In her testimony, she said, "My experience with domestic violence was this. Toxic mental, physical, and sexual abuse started slow but escalated over time, including threats against my life, severe gaslighting and brainwashing, waking up to the man that claimed to love me, raping what he believed to be my unconscious body." Though at the time she did not name her perpetrator. So she got up there in front of this subcommittee, and this is before she even outed Marilyn Manson to be this person. The following year, she testified before California legislators on behalf of the Phoenix Act, which was signed into California law in 2019 because of her. And what it does is it extends the statute of limitations for domestic violence felonies from 3 to 5 years, which still isn't fucking long enough.
Yeah, it's you see me rolling my eyes. I'm like, it's
better.
I'm glad they did something to increase it. But it's like a backhanded fucking extension. It's like, let's only go up 2 years. We're basically acknowledging that you went through this and we're acknowledging that other women go through this, but we're not putting enough emphasis in this to really extend the statute of limitations. Right. So, I mean, it's slight progress, but I hope she's continuing the fight as well as other women that have been physically abused and everything else.
So earlier this year, 2022, she released that documentary series on HBO called Phoenix Rising. It's a 2-part documentary, and it's produced by Amy Berg, who is the same producer for HBO's The Case Against Adnan Syed. If you haven't watched that documentary, go watch it.
I've seen that.
One of the things I learned at Obsessed Fest is that there's so much about serial that's just not true. And this documentary, Rabia Chaudhry worked on, and there's a lot of clearing of the bullshit. By the way, Adnan's completely free now. They're not putting another trial against him. He got to leave his house and go and explore. So congrats to all of you. So if you haven't seen that documentary, definitely go check it out. So The Rising Phoenix follows Evan Rachel Wood as she takes her experience as a survivor of domestic violence to pursue justice, heal generational wounds, and reclaim her story. She courageously uses her own experience to bring visibility to the issue, ultimately solidarity with fellow survivors, free from the burden of silence, even as the promise of justice remains ambiguous. So using archival footage, intimate home videos, and candid testimony from her and other survivors, Phoenix Rising charts Wood's journey from silent victim to vocal survivor and her rise to a domestic violence advocate. It delves behind familiar headlines and explores the often misunderstood aspects of domestic abuse, helping to shed light on the many factors that prevent survivors from coming forward with their stories as they deal with years of aftershock and emotional trauma. So she does chronicleize her relationship with Warner and details her allegations against him leading up to her decision to name him publicly. She alleged that Warner was monitoring her during their relationship as a means of intimidation. She said he was monitoring my every move. I couldn't reach out to anybody to say I need help because if he caught me doing that, it would be up for 2 days, getting yelled at, pleading my case, trying to talk him off a ledge. And he just knew how to break you down.
Okay.
There was one, I didn't put it in here, but there was an instance where she tried to leave him, and apparently he called her 158 times.
Oh my God.
And as he was doing this insane, obsessive act, he was telling her that he was cutting himself every time she didn't answer.
Okay.
And that he was going to commit suicide. So imagine like the trauma something like that causes 158 times. And you got to know that and he probably was really doing it. It's just so manipulative and abusive. It's fucking crazy.
Well, and I mean, some of the signs were already there. You said they started dating at 18. For the record, clearly between her parents and just her graduating early, like she was kind of an old soul. So she's very mature for her age to even realize the signs of the gaslighting and stuff like that, which is impressive. But I'm just saying, like most of these guys that are abusive mentally, physically, they always go younger because they think, like she even said, like you can groom them. I'm wondering how old the other women were that spoke out, like when he first started to date them as well.
Well, I mean, if you look at Rose McGowan, she can't be much older than Evan Rachel Wood.
Oh, that's true. That's true. Fuck. I didn't think about that.
He knows what he's doing. Obviously, this is something that
exactly what he's doing. It's very predatory. Very predatory.
Oh, yeah. And he's a fucking predator. I mean, listen, there's my fuck you eye came out.
It did.
There's something to be said for being able to have freedom of expression in your craft, but he's a little bit extra in everything that he's ever put out on television or in film or in movies or in music or whatever. He's like an extreme version, and it's never like a clean, wholesome anything. He's always some kind of demented, dark, demonic something. And that's part of his soul. I mean, obviously, it's just who he is. So on The View, Wood spoke about how she attempted suicide at 22 during her relationship with Warner. And she said, when somebody aids in the destruction of yourself, you forget who you are. You feel pretty broken and pretty empty. And honestly, the suicide attempt is another form of escape. When you don't feel like you're going to get out of this hole, there's no way to leave. There's no way to go. That's one way of leaving. And it didn't work. And that was the turning point because it made me look and think, I guess that there's a reason why I'm here. I'm at the bottom, so there's no way to go but up. And she says she always cited it as the best, worst thing that ever happened to her because it was when the phoenix rose from the ashes and it was the beginning for her. So I just got chills. I feel like it was really powerful. So 2 weeks before The Phoenix Rising was set to be released on HBO, Marilyn Manson filed a lawsuit against Evan Rachel Wood for defamation.
He was trying to stop that
documentary. Such a fucking douchebag. Yeah, of course he was. Of course he was. So he filed the complaint in LA Superior Court earlier this very year, 2022. And the complaint accuses Wood and her partner, Ashley Gore, of depicting him as a rapist and abuser, a malicious falsehood that has derailed his successful music, TV, and film career. Which is bullshit. I don't think he needed help derailing anything because who gives a shit about Marilyn Manson?
He was already on track for that, yeah.
So the suit accuses Gore of trying to obtain Manson's login information to his computer, phone, and email, and claims that she created a fake email address to claim that Manson was sending pornography to different contacts. That's like super specific.
Very specific. That's why I'm just nodding my head. I'm like, okay.
It reminds me of this documentary I think it was, I think it's also on HBO about the guy who used to like torment these women via the internet. He would like send nude pictures of them to their bosses or their parents. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah. He started the revenge porn thing.
Oh, God. Yeah, I'm sure that Manson's probably doing the same shit. And now oh my God, it's so infuriating. So, in addition to requesting a jury trial, Manson has accused Wood of inflicting emotional distress.
Oh, poor Marilyn Manson.
Violating the Comprehensive Computer Data and Access Fraud Act and impersonating him on the internet. Cry me a fucking river. Emotional distress. Is he serious? Like, I feel like that, like a slap in the fucking face. It's, oh my God, I feel like my smoke's coming out of my ears underneath.
He's just trying to pull whatever he can to just stop it. He's trying to buy time to have to stop that documentary.
It was going to come out anyway, though.
I mean, it's clear as day with everything going on. But he's also just a narcissist. I mean, you mentioned earlier about him going extra in everything he does. It's not necessarily that he's going extra. It's just he's starting to believe his own hype. The delusion of grandeur. Marilyn Manson for sure. 100%.
God, I can't stand him. Okay. I never could stand him. I never bought into the bullshit that everyone loved him in the 90s. He could suck it. So
he only had one song that I recognize, and that's really
because you're not his target audience, my friend.
Oh yeah, I'm definitely not. I'm definitely not. But we hang out with a lot of people that would be his target audience.
Fair enough.
I feel like they didn't play Marilyn Manson like that.
Because it's not good.
Yeah.
So in April of this year, Wood's attorneys filed court papers seeking dismissal of parts of his complaint against her, citing free speech. Like, you can't say that these parts are something that you have a right over because she's allowed to talk about it. In a sworn declaration, Wood says that during the course of the relationship, Manson raped me, tortured me, tied me up, beat me, starved me, deprived me of sleep, and shocked sensitive parts of my body. A hearing on Wood's motion is scheduled for December 13th of 2022 before Judge Teresa Boudet, while Gore's motion will be heard by the same judge January 31st of 23. So this isn't over, and I will definitely give updates once we see how all this plays out. In an interview with Elle magazine, Evan Rachel Wood said, "I can't obviously speak about any of the specific allegations of the lawsuit, but I'm not scared. I am sad. Because this is how it works. This is what pretty much every survivor that tries to expose someone in a position of power goes through. This is part of the retaliation that keeps survivors quiet. And this is why people don't come forward."
She's right. And, on top of it, I understand she's not scared, but the fact is every time she goes to trial, she has to relive all of this shit too. That's a heavy toll. And I can understand why a lot of people don't necessarily come out because they're trying to forget, even though that might not be possible to ever do. They still don't want it thrown in their face.
Of course. And then you
especially
look at
with the power of media and everything else. It's just
trial
there.
by media,
it's always
for sure.
there. It's always fucking there.
Yep. And then you have situations like the Patricia Douglas story that I did a few episodes ago where they tear you apart on trial and you're like, I'm the one who's the victim. Why are you ripping me apart even further? It's just horrible. So I'm very interested in how this plays out. I hope that society has changed enough to really sort this out the right way, I guess.
Yeah.
So to date, no charges have been filed against Warner, who denies abusing Wood or any other person.
Oh.
We need to do better, folks. Let's do better. So that is the story of the Phoenix Rising.
Damn. Well, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that. And I hope it works in her favor. Also, she's overcome so much. I knew about the relationship. I didn't know about the rest of it or that she's been going back and forth with court. And, she's still doing her acting career. She's in Westworld. She's in all these other things. So
and she's amazingly talented. So just keep pushing, Kudos to Hollywood for not blacklisting her for all this bullshit. I mean, that's a giant step in the right direction, Sorry, that was a heavy one, but I've had her story on the list for a while. I've been wanting to tap into that. She's just so powerful. It's very sad. Get him, girl. Nail his ass to the floor.
Get him.
Make him fucking regret this defamation lawsuit bullshit.
I'll definitely be keeping an eye on that.
Hold on, let me chug the rest of this.
Chug. I know your hand's going in and out. I'm like, where did she pull this from? What the fuck? It's sorcery. It's podcast. It's high level podcast sorcery, folks.
Oh my goodness. So Riley finally went to daycare today and I finally feel like a regular person. So that's cool. I'm very excited to just be able to speak with you And I do have my other fur baby distracting everything, but that's just what my life looks like. All right, what you got?
All right. So in today's episode, like I mentioned before, I'm going to talk to you about an Operation Varsity Blues, not to be confused with that movie, which it's a guilty pleasure of mine. If you haven't seen it, watch it. Like I said, Paul Walker, James Van Der Beek, John Voight, and Ali Larter, and the whatever whipped cream bikini thing that we talked about. But they made fun of all of that and not another teen movie. That's all I'll say. But yeah. For those who aren't familiar, and you said you think you might know what this is about, right? You think you had an idea?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. Well, I'm going to take a closer look at the actress Felicity Huffman's involvement in a nationwide bribery scandal for college admissions, where she, along with several other wealthy and celebrity parents, bribed their way into getting their children admitted into some of the universities in the country, some of the top universities in the country.
Aunt Becky.
Oh, we're gonna get to her soon. Notice I didn't name every name, but I just wanted to go with the ringleader first. Okay. And we're gonna get into how this was dubbed Operation Varsity Blues and everything. But first, let me give you a little bit of background, like usual. So for those of you that are, younger than us, which I hate you every day.
Jealousy is raging.
I'm not bitter at all.
No, it doesn't look like
bitter at all
it.
that we're getting old, late 30s. But anywho, Felicity Huffman was born.
Speak for yourself. I am in my mid 30s, sir.
I mean, I'm there, but I'm in the later mid 30s now. Like 36
is
see
like. See you later.
I'm
gonna lean this way.
Yeah. Okay. Ouch. Well, for those of you who care or don't know about her, Felicity Huffman was born on December 9th, 1962 in Bedford, New York, to a wealthy family. So she's an actress. She came from money. There's quite a few actresses that have. And anywho, her father was a partner at Morgan Stanley, where her mother also worked as a banker. So they ended up getting divorced like a year after she was born, and she spent the majority of her childhood splitting time between both parents while growing up, pretty much. By the time she was a teenager, she found out that her father was not actually her biological father.
Ugh.
And that a close friend of the family was in fact her biological father.
I don't know. Listen, I don't know why people do this. I understand when they're it's just so messy. I know I have a few scenarios like that in my life of people that I know that have had that exact situation, and it never fucking turns out well.
Yeah, I know one or two scenarios, and I'm like, goodness gracious, like, why?
Everyone's mad.
And this is the thing, like, this is already shaping this person to be the person that they want to be. Sometimes some of these people already, are established and have a wonderful life, and then this detail comes out and it destroys what they think they were. Yeah. It's a bomb. It's just fucking crazy to me.
Yep.
So take that as you will. I'm not justifying anything Felicity has done later on, but I'm just stating.
I feel like those things don't cross over, but
yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. So during the 70s, her mother bought a property in like Snowmass, Colorado. And that's where Felicity, along with her 7 other siblings, spent much of their time during their youth when they weren't with their father in New York.
It's a lot of babies.
So many. She attended a private boarding high school in Putney, Vermont, called the Putney School, before graduating from Interlochen Arts Academy back in 1981. She also spent some time at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts in London, also the Circle in a Square Theater School, and NYU, while pursuing her higher education in the arts.
I mean,
those
are some serious background credentials.
Very serious background credentials, also very expensive background credentials too.
Well, I mean,
but if you got the money, yeah. She made her on-stage debut in 1982 and was able to find work as a rule on stage productions throughout the 80s and 90s. So sometimes she would go through things. Sometimes she would produce. Sometimes she would, besides act, she would do behind the scenes things. She would produce as well. Stuff like that. Produce. Another word I'm trying to say. I can't think of it off the top of my head. It's like line producer as well, where they're handling more so of the finances and the paperwork logistics of these things. Besides her actually being like an actress, a dominating actress on stage. So a few years after her stage debut, she made her first appearance on Broadway in '88 when she landed a role in Speed the Plow, which is a very famous David Mamet play for those theater lovers such as us.
Theater lover, and I never heard of it.
It's an older play, but yeah, shame on you. Shame on you. The same year, she was also able to make her debut on the big screen when she starred in a minor role in one of Mamet's movies, because remember, half his plays became movies. And then when he wasn't doing plays, he made movies. This movie was called Things Change. Very minor role. She continued to appear in several other plays, specifically that David Mamet wrote over the next few years while she started to find work in Hollywood. It's so crazy because whenever I see stuff like this and I think about it, I always think of that core group. Like William H. Macy was another one that was like only solely doing David Mamet shit forever. And yeah, so little tidbit there.
It's a very small community once you really get your foot in the door.
Yeah. It's just like there's all of these separate internal groups, and each group works with a specific director or a specific type of show, or it's just, yeah. And it's in every genre, not even just Broadway, but like all genres. So, but yes, she started to find more work in Hollywood after all of that. And, she began to start to rise to fame. She also started dating fellow actor, which is why I brought it up, William H. Macy, who she ended up marrying in September of 1997 and having 2 daughters together, Sophia and Georgia. So like I said, they were all part of that Mamet group, and they met there, they fall in love, they got married. Early to mid 2000s was what a lot of people are going to say is like the peak of her acting career, when she was able to land the role as a series regular on the TV series Desperate Housewives.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yep.
She was Lynette Scavo on there for those who watched. And this was like back in 2004. This was like the birth of Desperate Housewives.
That show was huge too back then. Huge.
Yeah. Very huge. And it resurrected so many people's careers. So this came right after she was able to have a brief stint on Frasier in a recurring role that was ultimately able to give her more recognition as an actress. So it's like, and that was the tail end of Frasier.
Who was she on Frasier? Was she a girlfriend or something?
Briefly, very briefly. This was like final season.
It all comes back around, buddy, doesn't it?
Always. Her performance on the show helped her win an Emmy Award for Outstanding Lead Actress and then 2 Screen Actor Guild Awards, but that's for Desperate Housewives, not for Frasier. But the series Desperate Housewives ran for 8 seasons until 2012, and you all know it remains to be like one of the top shows in terms of like early reality. It was like semi-reality, even though it wasn't reality. It was like fake. What's the word I'm looking for?
All of the Housewives shows are based off of the concept of that show.
Exactly. But it was weird because it started that new trend of comedy, that kind of Modern Family and all of that follows. Like it kind of paved the way for that. And like you said, every housewife show afterwards follows that blueprint.
And I feel like it sort of falls in line with that Sex in the City, these shows are made for women feeling that started in the mid 2000s. And it is. It's made for women to oogle at hot guys and deal with the drama.
Oogle and escape. Yeah. But that ended in 2012. And then she ended up, the next thing that she did, and it didn't reach the level of Desperate Housewives. It's still a good show, but Amazon Prime, when they started their original show, she was in Transamerica. I don't know if you've watched that show.
Nope. Have you?
Really, I have. I saw the first season. I never finished through because I think there's 3 seasons total, but it's ultimately about regular families, so it seems. And the father, he announces to them that this is something he always wanted to do, and he's going through the process to become a woman.
Oh, I do know what you're talking about.
The whole family's trying to deal with it. Yeah, they deal with it in different ways. And I mean, she was the wife to him, and so really good show, really solid show. It was released like a year after Desperate Housewives first aired, and it helped her win a Golden Globe for Best Actress for that.
Wow.
Now, with all of those accolades and everything else put aside, we're going to get to the nitty gritty now. I give you some background to her.
Regular life. Bum, bum, bum.
Regular life. Yeah. Yes. We now interrupt this broadcasting to bring you regular fucking life.
The stupid shit people do.
And whatever. Don't do crime, folks. But I'm just saying sometimes there's this common pattern that we're seeing, and we've covered a few episodes on this shit. Like Lisa covered the true story about American Animals. These college kids, they came from privilege, they came from money, and they were just bored. So they're like, let's figure out how to do a book heist. Because we're bored, folks. We're fucking bored.
Yes.
We're going to see some parallels here, I feel.
Yeah.
So on March 12th, 2019, Felicity Huffman was arrested by FBI agents at her residence. I know some of you are like, whoa, we're jumping into arrest, but trust me, come on this journey. Yeah. Come to this journey with me. She was arrested by FBI agents at her residence in California for her involvement in what they deemed a nationwide college admission bribery scandal, which they had been heavily investigating, and they codenamed it Operation Varsity Blues.
Do they get awards for these code names? I feel like they should. Some of them are so good. Like when you watch I wish I can remember what it was now. That McDonald's documentary. Funniest fucking code name. Oh, I can't remember what it is, but it's a great one.
Like, sometimes I picture like a group of grizzled FBI agents, male and female. They're like all in a room and they've got like this
black coffee,
drinking black coffee, smoking some cigarettes. And they've got like an old hard ass, like boss, like, listen, 1800 hours. I'm going to need the files on this case. I'm going to need a good title. I'm going to need this. And someone's like, well, why don't we call it just college bribery? And then he like fucking slaps that person. Not good enough. And then the other person's like, well, what about Operation Varsity Blues? And everyone's like, you know what, you crazy son of a bitch, that works. I want more of this.
It's like a magazine meeting meets the FBI. Yeah, I mean, it's a great title. Somebody watched Varsity Blues. That's what this came from. Yeah,
clearly they did. But my thing is like, why'd you use that title?
And the double entendre of it all. It's like varsity, college, being sad because you're blue.
I partially get it because there's a scene in there where John Voight's the head coach and he controls all their lives. And he's like, because James Van Der Beek doesn't want to play football anymore. He's like, I want to go to college. I want to use my football scholarship to get an education. And he's not cooperating with John Voight because he's the replacement quarterback. And John Voight's like, you think you gonna go to school and do all these things? And he's like, and he's always chewing fucking gum because it's Texas. I don't know.
I have that thing where the sound of mouths bother me a whole lot. Yeah. So
yeah, he's always chewing gum and he's like, you need to play ball. He's like, I get what I want and you get what you want. So I guess somebody must have been in the middle of watching Varsity Blues that night, went to work, and then they just named this shit because
perfect.
Yeah. But yeah, Operation Varsity Blues, it's where a group of wealthy upper class parents essentially paid for their children to get admitted into some of the top universities in the country. She was among several people that were charged by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI that day for contributing to the scandal. And I'm going to get into the details of when this all started, but I just needed everyone to know the emphasis of this. This isn't like something simple where the cops come to your house. This is the FBI raid coming for her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the thing about it, too, is that they didn't just pay.
Yeah.
They lied on applications. They took opportunities from other children or other kids, whatever, to get into these colleges that were more deserving. Yeah, this is a crazy story.
It's pretty insane. So like through their investigations, they had found that Huffman had paid $15,000 in the form of a donation to the Key Worldwide Foundation, which in reality
sounds like nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like nothing.
What does that
even mean? Look, don't do crime, folks, but if you're going to fucking create fake foundations and everything else, like, give it real names.
Right, don't make it bullshit.
Have like some sort of mission statement. Like, I look at this Key Worldwide Foundation and I feel like everybody's just winking at each other, toasting the champagne. Like, we know what the fuck this means. Like, you could have been a lot better about this, So
funny, winking at each other.
But yeah, it was in reality, it was a payment for someone to pose as her daughter, Sophia, and have them take the SAT on her behalf to get a higher score on the test. So again, this goes into a lot of layers.
It's so ridiculous.
Like now we're paying people to pose as your kid to take the test for them to get a higher score to help them get into college. Like we're doing a lot of shit right here.
That's like straight out of a movie, like it's, don't you always, the twins that they switch and they take each other's tests or whatever. I mean, everyone was always like, God, I wish someone else could take this test for me. Right. But the SATs, as much weight as they put on them, they're all bullshit. But
agreed.
But they're like heavily monitored for how much prestige they're supposed to bring or whatever, and how heavily weighted they are in college applications and things like that. So it's mind blowing to me that they were even able to fucking manipulate this situation.
Well, I have so many questions about that because they never truly go in depth. But I'm like, did you hold a casting call? Were you? No, think about it. Did you hold a casting call? Were you looking for people that looked like them? Were you giving them scripts to cold read where they would say things that your daughter is supposed to say or move the way your daughter's supposed to move? Because a lot of even back in the day when we were in high school, they were on to most of that way back when they were over here, like checking your ID
and sign yourself in with a signature. Did you watch the documentary on Netflix for this?
I did not. So funny story about this. I was working on this story and then I saw that ultimately now there is a Netflix documentary. I didn't watch the documentary. This was something I had just been following a long time.
I feel like they did touch on how they did this. There was someone that they hired to monitor the tests and they flew him around the country and he was, taking money under the table for turning his eye the other way or whatever. So from what I understand, I hope I'm not taking anything from your story, but that they would set it up so that they needed additional time. Like they would say that they had whatever learning disability or whatever, they needed additional time. And then that additional time would be monitored by this specific individual that they would hire. And that person would sign off on it and say that was the right thing.
No, that's not taken away from me at all. And I appreciate that because I was so focused on the crime aspect that I was like, how did they pull that off? Yeah. But that makes sense because anyone with a learning disability, they always got more time and they usually test. I don't want to say they separately, isolate those people.
Test them separately,
they do test separately. So that's fucking
that's
crazy.
How they pulled that off. And I'm trying to think about the guy too. Did he look over the test? I can't remember. Folks, go watch that documentary because it's super good.
That's wild. I mean, in theory, the real daughter could have been there, went to the private room and then swapped out with someone.
She could have went there and he read the fucking answers to her why make this a whole big thing that someone else has taken the test? I guess you need to have not everything be correct.
Well, right. But they took that extra step to make sure other people was taking it on the behalf, which is crazy to me. So, But Felicity was charged with conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest services fraud as a result of the investigation, along with her eventual arrest.
Mail fraud that's like tax evasion. They get you every fucking time with the mail fraud.
Every time.
I don't remember how is it mail fraud? The sending in the applications with inaccurate information.
Exactly. You're falsifying the documents. God. And then it still counts as mail fraud because technically she didn't take that test. So someone else is taking it on her behalf and you're still sending it up there. That's all mail fraud.
I feel like that's just a pot that they throw stuff in. They're like, yep, we got you.
We got you.
Watch this.
Again, when it comes to certain things like mail and taxes, they'll always get you. They got Al Capone on fucking taxes, not on the dozens of people he killed and every other thing. They got him on taxes.
It's like a weird catch-all. They found these little loopholes in mail fraud and tax evasion.
They're just like, you can get away with murder, but you can't get away with Uncle Sam and the IRS.
Right. Nope.
So the very next day after that arrest, March 13th, 2019, Felicity appeared at the Los Angeles federal court where federal agents confiscated her passport so she could not flee the country. Right on.
Sorry about you, Felicia.
And they released her on bail for like $250,000. She appeared again in court just a few months later in Boston in May, where she pled guilty to one count of conspiracy to commit mail fraud and honest services mail fraud. She was sentenced to 14 days in jail and 1 year supervised release, instructed to participate in about 250 hours of community service. And she was fined $30,000 for her part in a scandal. Again, this woman comes from money. These fines don't mean shit.
14 days.
14 days at the time, and 1 year supervised, and 30 grand fine, which is
it's
nothing.
Like barely a slap on the hand. I mean, the idea of being in jail for 14 days is terrifying to me. In the grand scheme of life, people spend decades in jail, and she should have had more than that.
Well, we all know she didn't go to real jail. She probably went to like very minimum security, where it's like all the tax evaders and all the like stock, the inside traders. Yeah.
What's her name? Blonde hair? Snoop Dogg's friend?
Were you going to say Martha Stewart?
Yeah,
I knew you were going to say Martha Stewart.
Snoop Dogg's friend, and you got it. Perfect.
I just knew, blonde. Once you said blonde, I'm like, is she going to go to Martha Stewart?
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a cushy little jail somewhere for all those fucking celebrities.
Yeah, they all went to Club Fed. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, that's where they're going.
Justin. I liked it.
But yeah, that was her sentencing. Once she was provided with the terms of her sentencing, she served her 2 weeks of jail time at Federal Correctional Institute in Dublin, California, starting on October 15th of 2019. But this isn't over yet because, like I was saying, although she was one of the most notable figures involved in that scandal, there were also some other high-profile individuals, which Lisa kind of hinted at earlier, that were caught up in the incident as well. Once it got more attention in the media, they also discovered that Lori Loughlin, I always mess up that last name, Loughlin. Yeah. Some of you know her as Aunt Becky from Full House. And her fashion designer husband, Massimo Ginaldo, were also indicted. Names are rough
for you, buddy.
They are, yeah. Last name, I'm like, what the fuck? Were also indicted by the U.S. Attorney's Office and the FBI for bribing their way into getting both their daughters admitted to USC.
Yep.
Which landed them in prison for a few months. Loughlin served 2 months in prison, while her husband Massimo served 5 months in prison. The family allegedly paid over $500,000, $500,000, folks, to bribe their way into getting their daughters admitted into USC as fake athletic recruits, even though neither of them played sports.
I mean, they're like TikTok makeup famous or some stupid bullshit. They want to be Kylie and Kendall.
Yeah. So here's my thing. Like, why are we doing so much extra? Again, don't do crime, folks. But if I'm bribing people to get my kids into college, I'm going to be very modest about this shit. I don't know. I'm bribing them to get into like oceanography, or I'm bribing them to do like criminal justice. Courses. It's going to be very specific shit. I'm going to be looking at my future kids. I'm just giving random names. And I'm going to be like, Veronica, Charisma. Listen, you guys know your strength. You're great in communication. You're great in fucking meteorology. We're going to get you in those majors. I'm not fucking putting you. I'm just Peyton, if you're listening to this, do not slap me later. I'm just talking. I'm just making random shit up. But
Peyton's like, no.
She's
Veronica
like, we didn't agree.
Charisma? Where the fuck did you pull that from?
We didn't agree to any of this. Charisma Carpenter, that name is always up there for me. But yeah, you're going into modest fucking fields. I'm not. That's asinine. That's like if I had a son and I'm over here like, we're gonna get you into college and we're gonna put you in a D1 for football when you fucking
let you get
played
murdered.
You played Pee Wee football like 22 years ago. We're gonna get you in a D1 now. So
yeah, and now just to go back for a second. I'm amazed because Lori Loughlin and her husband were both charged. But William H. Macy came out pretty unscathed in this whole scenario, didn't he?
We're going to get to that. Okay. Yes, he did. Yep. Okay. Yep. Not all parties are guilty of things, so to speak. But, William H. Macy's William H. Macy. But we'll get to that.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
Fair enough.
But yeah, again, $500,000, folks. Bribing their way to get their daughters into USC as fake athletic recruits, even though neither of them played sports. And like Lisa fucking pointed out, like at least one of the daughters was trying to be like TikTok famous, which is, I think, how they had caught on to Lori and them, because she had posted, one of the daughters had posted some shit clearly they shouldn't have posted during the middle.
School. School's stupid.
Yeah, I don't even know why I'm here. Something along the lines of that while the Felicity Huffman thing happened. And then people started to, again, court of public opinion, and we got all these social media sleuths, they're doing their detective work, and they're like, well, she's going to school for here, but she's never played a sport. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I in the documentary, if you go watch it, they interview like her old classmates, and they're like, she doesn't have a fucking athletic bone in her entire body.
Mm-hmm.
When we heard she was going to, where did you say?
USC
for crew. I think they call it crew or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like, yeah, okay, sure. Whatever you said.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that went down. And you got to think because of that, they took away from very qualified applicants. Like,
people work their whole lives,
especially to go to a school like that. So it's just stupid. It's just all stupid. Again, yeah, doing so much extra. You all could have gotten away with this for doing less, but why
don't we all just relax? Like,
yeah, why don't we relax? As
Justin says, don't do crime, folks. But if you're going to do crime, don't fucking overdo it.
Exactly.
That's how you're going to get caught.
So unlike Felicity herself, in that scenario, both parents were involved in a situation. That's why they had a little bit of longer time. But however, Felicity's husband, William H. Macy, the man was not actually involved in the bribery whatsoever. And as a result, he was not charged for the crime. So that's another thing that gets to me. No shade to William H. Macy, because we've all seen him. He's on Shameless. He's on everything else. He's always giving 110%. So my question is it that he's so committed and invested in all of these other projects that he somehow was not there to see that his wife was running this organized bribery circle, if you will? Or is it just one of those things like Real Talk where you guys have been together for over 30 something years and you're just like, she probably told you about it and you're like, stop you right there. Like, plausible deniability. I love you. I support you. Do what you do. Can't be a part of this. Was it one of those?
I bet you it was the first one. I bet you that it's one of those kinds of relationships. Every relationship, there's people who handle certain things. Everyone's got their own responsibilities, right? So she was probably the one who wasn't currently on any show or doing anything specific. And her life was more about the family, where his was more about filming everything.
Exactly.
So he just probably wasn't privy. And she left all the bullshit that he didn't need to know out. Because maybe he would have been
crazy.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Well, I mean, not for nothing. They're still together too, which yeah.
Yep.
Out of sight, out of mind. He's probably like, I'm not touching this.
Yeah.
But overall, the Varsity Blues scandal led to at least 53 people being charged with a crime as part of the conspiracy. Yeah, it went down. Like I said, people. The FBI had been investigating this for a long time. As part of the conspiracy, and many of whom decided to plead guilty to the courts for their involvement within the scandal. The main organizer behind the scheme was actually William Rick Singer, was in control of two separate firms. He controlled the Key Worldwide Foundation.
Well, this is the guy that everybody was like, you got to talk to my guy. I got this guy. Yeah. He'll do these things.
He was the guy. Yep. So he had that firm, and then he had the Edge College and Career Network that were used to receive payment from those parents and use those funds to bribe the official college. To bribe college officials.
The Edge is like, I mean, it's pretty. That's pretty on the nose too.
That's pretty on the nose. Yeah,
like you're getting in the edge. The upper hand because you have money, and I'm just gonna help you get there.
Let me introduce you to my guy. He holds a very special program, the Edge program. Trust me, we'll get you on track, and you'll be in college in no time. Wink, wink.
Ugh, I don't like it. I'm sorry to the world who's gonna actually pay for our Patreon to watch me blow my nose, but I have to blow my nose right now. Otherwise, I'm going to sniffle like a crackhead in the rest of this episode. Sorry, world. Okay.
So they would also use certain tactics to inflate college entrance exam scores for those parents and boost the applications of their children by obviously fraudulently posing as high-achieving student athletes that were involved in many extracurricular activities, even though they weren't. It's said that between 2011 and 2018, 7-year span, folks. This is why I was telling y'all before. I'm like, FBI is involved, and this has been like an investigation. It was a true investigation. They've been following this shit for over 7 years.
Right.
Between 2011 and 2018, Singer received over $25 million from the parents involved for his role as the organizer of the scheme, and he was sentenced to 65 years in prison along with a $1.25 million fine.
$25 million they gave him?
$25 million.
Holy
and again,
shit.
if Lori Loughlin is doing
half a million, and she was
for
a lot,
just two of her kids, and she's a fucking celebrity, clearly people are paying a lot more.
Wow. Or there's just a lot more people than, 53 people.
That too.
That's a lot. Oh my God. Yeah. That's so crazy. And they only made him pay $1.25 million.
Exactly. But he's sentenced to 65 years in prison now. So at least
probably
he's
a life
doing
sentence
time
because he's an older gentleman already.
He's an older gentleman. Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of wild to me again, though, like Felicity Huffman, her involvement in a way, she was like his right-hand person. Mm-hmm. She didn't get much time. What the fuck is up with that? It's like the whole, we did this in one of our first episodes. I did the Allison Mack and the cult.
Mm-hmm. The vow.
She became the right hand to that person. Yeah. She did some time, but again, it was the person over her that did most of the time. I guess celebrities are getting slight passes. Yeah, you
can't be the fucking ringleader of the vow and then not get nailed to the floor. But yeah, do you know like the story about him, that guy? He's like a defunct tutor or something, and that's how he started doing this. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Tell me about that.
So he was sort of trying to help kids get into college admissions. Like he was in that business, but then he realized he could do it this way and be more successful. And it started as, hey, we're going to make a donation to this program at your college.
Right.
But this name is going to come up on your applications. Keep an eye out for it. Like that's how it started. And then it morphed into this whole other thing that we're taking SAT tests for other people and relying that we row crew and all this other stuff. But that's how it started. He was like already in the business of helping people get into college. That's
the catch too, because it's like looking back at Felicity Huffman's story specifically, she probably ended up serving very little time in prison compared to some of those parents that were sentenced to multiple months in prison because she only bribed her way, not justifying it. I'm just saying she had only bribed her way into.
Right. She wasn't Lori Loughlin who.
Yeah. She only improved the SAT scores instead of actually bribing. She truly never bribed the college officials to get her child into a specific school. You see what I mean?
Lori Loughlin literally.
Yeah.
Has pictures made of her daughter rowing crew. What the fuck? That's what he used to do. He would submit all of this evidence to make it look like these people were really doing that. Like this one kid was supposed to go to this football college. Well, and here's the thing too, with the donation and like the sport, whatever the sport is they would not be expected to be at any I almost said rehearsal.
Practice, yeah.
Any practice or participate in the sport at all. So it was just supposed to be an understanding, like you said, a wink, wink, or whatever.
Yeah.
That they would get in under this moniker of they're an athlete for this reason, but really they weren't supposed to participate in anything anyway.
And they were just supposed to be there on the bench.
Not even, dude. Not even. They literally were just allowed to go to the school.
See,
they were not expected to participate in anything. It was all about numbers. It's crazy. Like they photoshopped images of these kids into like a football player or a rowing crew or whatever, lacrosse. Oh, it's that's why he got 65 years, because he fucking went in. He went in.
And like I said, again, Felicity Huffman only did the whole SAT score thing. She didn't actually bribe college officials.
I mean, it's pretty bad.
It's all fucked up. No, it's all fucked up. But I will say this. Since that incident, she has yet to appear in any movies, any TV shows since this whole scandal happened.
Well, she's a woman. They don't get any grace in Hollywood.
I know. It's such a backwards time. I really just...
Not that I'm saying she should... be given the room, but
no, but you're right. It is a double standard when it comes to actresses. We already had this talk too with the Winona Ryder thing. Like, I feel like she truly never bounced back the way she should have versus the shit I was telling about Mel Gibson.
She'll never be in anything besides Stranger Things. So
yeah. So I don't know. Maybe in the future this will change, and maybe she'll have a comeback. I'm not saying all of that. I'm just throwing out there. If that were to happen, I'm curious to see how she would be after everything she has done with this bullshit.
Lori Loughlin, too, is like completely gone underground.
Yeah.
Her daughters, on the other hand, have not.
I know they've gone more viral because of this.
Yeah.
So, and they inadvertently caused their own selves to get caught. But whatever. That's okay. But all I've got to say, wrapping that up, is like time and time again, we've seen how parents are willing to do whatever it takes to ensure that their children can succeed in life, especially if they have the means to do so. Having the necessary resources to make your child's life easier is something that all parents wish to have so that they don't have to struggle as much as they did growing up. However, that being said, it doesn't justify them using those means to break the law or do illegal activities just to help their kids get ahead in their lives. I mean, in those situations, it's like we must always hold those individuals accountable for their act. Accountable. Lisa knows I'm going to say it. It just needs to be like a tip jar at this point, an accountable jar at this point. Where I just, you guys listening to our podcast, if you're ever bored, start to do a drinking game, start playing our podcast. Every time I say accountable, have a shot.
Or don't do crime, folks, or exactly. I think those are the three for you.
Oh, damn. Exactly. Yeah, exactly's up there. Okay. Well, they're going to be very fucking drunken people. Maybe that'll be tier 3 of the Patreon. Find out some of the drunken stories about us. I don't know.
There's so many. So many.
But, I don't, it doesn't.
Pull it back together, buddy.
Now.
Pull it back together.
I'm good. That being said, it doesn't. No, what was I saying? Hold them accountable. Yeah, for their actions, no matter how rich and famous they are. Okay. And we love hearing your feedback. Again, if you got feedback or if you have suggestions on what you think we would like to cover or even good topics, we listen to everybody. I feel like if we do use your thing, we're going to give you a shout out anyway. So
yes.
Yeah. But that's all I got. That's my Operation Varsity Blues.
It's a good one. Good one.
When you look back at the history of the creative arts, it takes a lot of darkness to create the light the arts bring to the world.
Thanks for joining us this week. And if you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and go over to Apple Podcasts to rate and review.
Please check out our sources listed in the episode notes. They're amazing.
And you can find us on Facebook and Instagram and all of the social platforms at Crime of the Arts Podcast.
We're looking forward to having you back next week. Until next time, peace out, everybody.
Peace out, everybody.